Most importantly, what women bring to longboarding that men have somewhat lacked is that dance quality, I think, that femininity and a flow and a grace that I think just comes natural to the female form.
We don't crave too much.
My whole switch stance, I think, when I realized that I wanted to do it and I realized the application and the function of it, it took me back to being 9 years old and those dance classes and doing that choreography, and there's just that rhythm and flow, and it helps you put all of the other things together. There's a huge relationship with longboarding and dance.
Welcome to Longboarder Magazine. We're in Southern California to meet up with one of the pioneers of the longboard renaissance at Malibu, Carla Rowland Zamora.
In the 1990s and early 2000s, Carla was at the forefront of a new generation of female Malibu surfers who, as this archive video reveals, reignited the classic style of longboarding with feminine power and grace, bringing life to the relationship between surfing and dance. Carla works as a surf coach, a contest organizer and announcer, and lives with her husband Ian, just north of Los Angeles and close to her longtime playground of Malibu. I have long admired Carla not only for her outstanding surfing, but the game-changing work she has done for women's longboarding. Carla's father, Wayne Rowland, has been a Malibu longboarder since the early 1960s, so it's no surprise she fell in love with surfing.
You know, my dad always wanted me to surf, as any dad wants their kid to do when they're growing up. And it took me a while to fall in love with surfing. But prior to longboarding, I was a dancer. And so the longboarding was already ingrained in me with the steps and the timing and the flow and whatnot. So I think that's probably why I gravitated to it and fell in love with it.
Surf to me is a rhythm, just like dance. Everything has a count, just like you do in dance. It was just really natural for me to take what I knew from dance and bring it into my surf. Not just the movement, but I really thrived on the stage. I liked performing. First Point, Malibu is a stage. The afternoon light comes in and all of the talent is out there, especially in that time in the early to mid 90s when that old school longboard resurgence was really on fire. It was a really unique time. I feel really fortunate that I was a part of that. There were only a few of us girls that were really dedicated to that. I was one of the oldest, so I tried to mom a hen, you know, and tried to nurture and empower and encourage, and I've always continued to try to live my life in that kind of way.
For the indigenous Chumash of Malibu, the area has long been recognised as a sacred coastal site. The very name, the anglicised version of Humalahu, which means the surf sounds loudly. I'm keen to ask Carla about the enduring appeal of Malibu.
It's one of the best longboard waves in the world. It was a mecca, and it was the place that traditional longboarding was birthed. And then, of course, you have that element of infamy that Malibu possesses, where there's so many characters, and it's not just the long wave that draws people, but there's a tangible society there that people long to be a part of.
I'm interested in appreciating what it is that Malibu teaches you about longboarding.
It teaches you to kind of have stamina in your wave riding because it's a long ride. So growing up surfing there, we kind of were schooled on maximizing the wave and dropping in at the top of the point. And if you were getting a set wave, you better make it all the way through, you know? So there was no falling, and that also had to do with not wearing the leash. So I think it teaches you to really be a strong, perseverant surfer.
As this archive footage celebrates, Carla developed a beautiful flowing style that has power and presence at the core, but she had to battle many obstacles to be recognized.
Being a woman at First Point Malibu during the mid to late 90s and into obviously the 2000s was super difficult. I look back on it more now and am surprised at some of the things that I kind of had to go through and was faced against, because there was a lot of objectivity of the women. We were a part of that new school resurgence of the traditional aesthetic. So we were that first class of women that were really bringing in a femininity to our longboarding, where the women up until that point, and this this is at no knock to them. I think this was required of them. They were having to compete against the men because there weren't any women's divisions. So it would have been natural for them to try to emulate more of a man's style. When my generation started to come in, 1995 was my first longboard surfing event that had a women's division. So that changed everything. Aesthetically, women's longboarding has changed because of that dynamic of them offering more contests for the women and more sponsorship for the women. So that femininity has been celebrated more. And most importantly, what women bring to longboarding, perhaps that men are unable to do, is kind of that softness, that elegance that is just natural to the female form.
The switch stance has become a central feature in Carla's longboarding as dance.
I started doing it right around the turn of the century, which sounds strange, but right around 2000. My mentor, Dylan Jones, who is also a backsider, goofy foot, so he started switching his stance, and we were talking a lot about that different feeling to riding a wave on your front side and having your belly face the wave. And there's a speed and a section connection that you can kind of get that you don't get on your backhand. So over time, it evolved into really wanting to do big bottom turns and cutbacks, and I'm still refining my switch stance, cross-stepping and nose riding, but I have so much fun.
And when the wave demands, you'll see perfectly timed footwork.
Cross-stepping is such a foundation in longboarding. It really adds that form and function that kind of also aligns with dance. You have that timing, that rhythm, and in a sense, like a choreography.
Dance is always free-flowing and always moving, and it truly is an expression of personality, because depending on how your hand flows or the way your body moves really is speaking to who you are.
And this choreography leads to the important moment where time and space stand still at the tip.
Nose riding is probably the most important thing in longboarding because it's really the one thing that sets it apart from shortboarding. In longboarding, we move up and down our board and we use that surface to gain speed, redirect, where on a shortboard you stay in that one place. So with cross-stepping and nose riding, they're features that are required in order to encompass that full body work of the board. Getting a good nose ride has a feeling that you're levitating on the water. It's very spiritual if you have that kind of connection. And it's thrilling too, and it kind of is addicting. It makes you want to do it more.
As a surf coach, Carla knows better than most how to teach the nuances of nose riding.
Learning to nose ride can be really frustrating for people because I think that, you just go up there, but it takes time, it takes special nuances, and being able to read the wave and understanding how to position your surfboard in the wave. A lot of people have this misconception that the nose is what is affecting a nose ride, but in fact, more so, it's the tail that affects a nose ride. So, anybody that's new out there that kind of trying to figure that out, be focused on your fins and your tail setups just as much as what your design on the front end of the board is.
Carla's husband Ian is a fantastic surfer, photographer and shaper, with an amazing test pilot for his craft.
Ian gets really happy when he makes a board and he can see it work, and when his designs and his theories are manifested on the waves, so that's pretty exciting. And I am a pintail lover to the core because a square tail turns a bit differently, it pivots more in place, whereas a pintail draws out speed from its turn, and that I always found beneficial for surfing, especially on my backhand at Malibu. A little wide point back, not too narrow a nose, and if I can carry it under my arm comfortably, it's too narrow.
In recent years, Carla has started to run a series of all-women longboard contests.
I was fortunate enough to take over the Malibu Board Riders Call to the Wall contest that had been going on for 20-something years, and I had a plan in mind to eventually have an all-lady longboard contest. So in 2022, I was able to do the first ever all-lady longboard event at Malibu. We had over 140 competitors. I had 40 pros. I gave $8,000 away. Jen Smith was the winner, taking home $4 grand, and we're gonna do Queen of the Cove at the Cove at C Street in Ventura, and I'm planning on a series of events. I'm really excited.
Carla has also taken these events to the point breaks of Luzon in the western Philippines. Ian's family is from the Philippines, and for over a decade, Carla and Ian have spent 6 months of the year out here.
The Philippines has such a special quality to it. The people there are so genuine and so nice. And for me, the Philippines has always brought me a reset and an opportunity to fall in love with surfing again.
Carla has been a huge inspiration to a new wave of Filipino longboarders.
The women's longboard culture in the Philippines is growing rapidly. We have watched it with our own eyes, with just being maybe a couple handfuls of ladies that were in the lineup to so many women out there that I was able to do an all-lady surf contest. Now I'm planning on bringing Queen of the Point over there, and hopefully we'll have even more women and opportunities to celebrate them.
Watch me as I dance. Have you known romance before?
I currently see women's longboarding evolving, more importantly, longboarding in general, and with women leading the charge. I think there's been an awakening with companies and sponsors, and with Instagram can be a beauty or a beast there, but I think it's helped women's longboarding quite a bit. I curate the account Slide Lady Slide, and I did it kind of as a self-induced dare, as somebody that wasn't really that into social media, and I wanted to see if I could create something that I'm passionate about in my soul, and I wanted to see who else was, and now I'm at 70,000 followers, and so that was really kind of an eye-opener to me as far as the direction that longboarding's taking, and that's with the women in that feminine form and the flow and the style.
I was getting lost, and before I understood, I was deep, deep down on the bottom of a well. Seagrass was all I found. I know alternative hell, no more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land.
The advice that I have for up-and-coming female longboarders around the world is just continue pursuing your technique, and if by chance you're in a lineup or an area where you feel insecure or like perhaps you're the minority, sit tall, don't be afraid to take your place. We have been in a kind of a man's dominated sport for many years, and now is the time for the woman to kind of take her place and not be afraid about it.
Limitations are a fact. Blow me down from this pedestal. The younger me has been ready. I'm shedding flakes of gold. These layers of stuff on me. I've gone from rough to soft. How could this be? Sun can't shine if the knife's not sharp. A peace of mind I've taught my dogs to bark. Oh, guilty or not, you're a sprite and let me steal.